everyone. This is Citlalli.
Hello, it's Huitzilyolotl.
And we want to say that we want to leave Latino, Latina, and Latinx in 2017. Let's talk about this. So, to begin, let's talk about Latin, okay? Latin are the Southern Europeans, which are now defined as Italians, Portuguese, French. We as Mexican, Central American, Native American, South American, under those colonial terms, our history and our identity is Nicantlaca, Indigenous. Adding an X to a colonial term does not diminish its genocidal content. Your thoughts?
Yeah, a lot of people want to reclaim this label or modify it because it's to include people who are transgender or who don't prescribe to like their gender or their non-binary, which is fine. Like you don't have. I mean, that's not the issue. The issue is taking a colonial label and trying to make it to modify your own like gender needs. Well, we already have labels like that are non-gender inclusive. So we have like even Mexican, Mexica, that's non-gender. It's both genders included. We have Indigenous, same thing. Like they're not. There's no gender to that. Nicantlaca, same thing. It's not. There's no gender to it. It's gender neutral. So we already have these labels. We don't really need another. We don't need to modify a colonial one. And and it kind of bugs me that people it's like people that already know better. Like they know like Latino is not the appropriate word, but they still want to use Latinx because it's for whatever reason. But it's like. We don't need it, or people like they say, oh well, I'm Latinx. It's like, okay, but you're Mexican. Like you're Mexican, so why do you have to? You're not talking about a group of people. You're talking about yourself, and yet you still want to use Latinx and not really use Mexican anymore. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It just seems weird. It kind of bothers me that people still. It's like somehow Mexican is still like a bad word, and they rather be Latinx instead of Mexican. So we just do support people who that are trans or that are non-binary. It's fine, but we already have labels for that as well. Like we don't need to include another one or modify one that doesn't even relate to us. And even I know a lot of like black people that are like from Latin America and they want to use Latinx too. And it's like, well, again, as an African descent, that doesn't really prescribe to you either. But I think they want to honor like, well, I'm from Latin America, so my culture is different, which is fine. But again, it's still colonial culture, and we're still using Latin like Latino to describe Indigenous and African people. And it's like no, like we don't need those labels. Like we have our own labels, and we're only speaking for our people as Indigenous people. But I'm sure like a lot of Africans agree that Latinx like is not for them either. Like a lot of them do know that doesn't prescribe to them as African people. So yeah, I mean that's about it.
And basically like the problem with Latinx is that you accept Latin. Like you're fine with it. Like you're saying, okay, it's fine so long as it's gender inclusive, so long as it represents the X. And that's the problem is where you're just taking it all in. You're just accepting it. You're not being critical. If it's about dismantling these sexual constructions and these gender constructions, it doesn't make sense that you're building on top of something that was a colonial construction based to erase your people. So by people using that and knowing where the term comes from, you're telling me that your sexual orientation or your gender identity is more important to you than your identity as a Nicantlaca person. And it's not about hierarchies. It's the fact that we're just simply embracing Latin and just adding an X to it, which they could have done to Mexican X. They could have said Salvadorian X. They could have said Chicano X. But it's not. Like what is being used in this fad right now is Latin X. And there's a problem because we are not Latino. We're not Southern Europeans. And you're basically decorating a concept that was meant to erase you, and you're saying it's okay if they erase me so long as they realize that I'm non-binary, gender binary, And that's not okay, because what we're saying is that we're all for our people, same gender loving, non-binary, like that's all. We should be liberated as a whole, but we shouldn't use colonial constructions to build that liberation and that self-identity. So let's leave Latinx, Latino, Hispanic, Latino, raza mestizo, all that shit in 2017. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, just one more. Just again, just to reiterate, Latin. Like, if you really look at the definition, it's like Roman heritage. So again, like we don't need to, like, that label doesn't prescribe to us. And even the whole like Me Too, like that's kind of like what they're being promoted as Latino X, and that's also like, you know, the Cubans of Miami created Latino, and now you have the same people, like the children of the first migration of Cubans. They're still trying to like define or redefine Latin or Latino with the X. Because if you look at Me Too, like a lot of them, I mean, I'm sure it's like Cuban owned, but I mean, they have Mexicans and they have certain other groups there too, but they have a lot of Cubans still there too. So again, they're promoting this label that is not really for us. So we have to really be mindful of what, you know, why they feeling this label. Like, you know, it's being used more in academia, it's being used more like in like publications, and so now it's like trickling down to like the masses or people that are more into academia or they're more like politically aware, and you know, it's kind of worse because most of them know better and they know it's not the right term, but they use it anyway because that's really what they know or they're used to, but or they don't think we have alternatives. But it's like, no, we have alternatives. We've been using them for like forever, but it's just, I don't know, they want to look cool. I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know what the attraction is, but cause I don't know. It just, yeah. They want to use it because I don't know. They're social justice warriors. I don't know what. There's something with this label that people can't get rid of it, and it's still holding us down. And you know, I grew up in the Mexican community, and like, you know, in Santana and Orange County, and like no one ever said Latino, and so we're all Mexican. And all of a sudden we go to college and we come out, we're all Latino. So it's like, you know, we're just being brainwashed to like these labels, and they know that these labels are not for us, and they know that, you know, we shouldn't be using them, but because that's what they giving us, that we just take it and accept it without really thinking critically, I mean, even Mexican loses its sense. It's like, how do you go from Mexican to Latino in like a period of like 5 years in college? So yeah, just, you know, just be mindful. Like, you know, there's a lot of history books on like that tell you about these labels and where they come from, and so yeah, so hopefully this label is Latino label, Latino X, Latina is like completely gone in 2018, but now we're still gonna be here like always fighting it and always promoting the opposite of what we get from the mainstream media. So that's it.
We should decolonize everything, not just our cultural identity. All of our identities should be free from white supremacy. So that's it. Citlalli and
Huitzilyolotl.
let's leave Latinx in 2017.